We're about to jump into today's podcast, but before we do, I have a favor to ask you. If you listen to this podcast weekly on Apple or Spotify, could you please follow the show? That would be so appreciated. I'm so grateful for your time and your energy because this will help the show get more traction, which means more people can benefit from it. And if you would be so kind, if you're on Apple Podcast, to leave a review, it would so help the show out. Thank you so much for your support. Let's start the show. I've got Michelle, a first-year acupuncture student in the US who is full of great questions and insights from a student perspective. This whole episode is questions from a first-year student perspective. It is jam-packed with nuggets and tips you can use if you are a student, but also very, very good if you're a practitioner. She really asked me in-depth questions on how I run my clinic, how I keep patients coming back, how I work with other practitioners, what my patient load's like. It is really a fun episode. So get ready. Let's go. Welcome to AcuPro, a show dedicated to making Chinese medicine and acupuncture easy to grasp and fun to learn. Hi, I'm your host, Clara Cohen. I support practitioners and students like you in changing the world one patient at a time. My goal is to share my passion for TCM and empower you to achieve superior patient care. I love to showcase the amazing benefits of acupuncture because, after all, acupuncture rocks. Michelle, you are in school and you are in your first year. I want you to share why you decided to go back to school, how old you are, because nobody can see your beautiful face right now, but how old you are, why you decided to go back to school, and why you are excited about learning TCM.
Well, I'm 53 years young. I was working in a chiropractic office and they did acupuncture. I knew people felt great, but my very first visual was when a man came in with Bell's palsy. I watched his progression from a total face fall within a year, because I don't think he came in right away, but within that year, faithfully at least once a week, I saw it come all the way back up. It was so inspiring and fantastic. After that, I took care of my mom who had lung cancer. She was in her last year with me, but we were able to bring her in for some acupuncture and it greatly relieved her breathing. She had some breathing relief for days and days, sometimes a week in between. I just knew I have to do this. I want to help other people. I just knew this was what I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I can. You can still do acupuncture in your 70s, 80s, 90s if you're blessed with the good health. And so I plan on going as long as I can.
I love that. I love that story for a few reasons. First of all, I got so many people that contact me on social media or via email all the time and say, oh, I'd love to learn, but I'm too old because I'm 30 and I'm 40 and I'm 50. There is no age because no matter what, depending which program you want to do, no matter what, in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you will be 5 years older, no matter what. We can't stop that, right? Why not do something that lights you up instead of waking up in 5 years and go, well, I didn't do anything that light me up and now I'm 5 years older. Now you're going back to school in your 50s and you're absolutely right. When I went back to school, I was in my 30s, mid 30s, and there was 3 people that were above 50 and one was 62. He was so excited about it because why not? And if you are passionate about something and it lights you up, you absolutely should follow your heart, not your brain. Come on. If you follow your heart, you cannot be stirred wrong, right? I also love that you saw a visual of someone with Bell's palsy because acupuncture is the only option for Bell's palsy patients. They don't have any options, right? And the longer they wait, the harder it is to come back. But the shorter, the faster, and at least acupuncture is such a good avenue. And I'm sorry about your mom, even though acupuncture helped in managing the difficulty in breathing at that time. At least it made life a little bit easier at that time for her, so she was not as uncomfortable. However, it is a tough one. And for you to want to go into this, I love this because most people that practice will follow either something they lived or something they love. You lived it through your mom, so that might be the avenue. I went into women's health a lot because that's something I loved. I love the amazing tools we have when it comes to women's health. So that's why I went into that. Really appreciate you sharing this.
I'll tell you what, you've done so much just through the tools that you offer. YouTube, the books, I've got them all. It really helps me in school because when I'm not sure that I understood something correctly, I always know I can go to your books and get clarification. It has been consistently that way ever since I started. So thank you very much for that. You're helping me through school. And the podcasts are awesome. One of my first questions is when you started, how many people would you recommend as a goal for your days when you're brand new, fresh from passing your boards?
Are you asking how many people a day should be a good goal to have a successful practice? Or are you asking how many people a day can I handle seeing and stay healthy and strong, etc.?
I guess both, because when you're new, you're slower. And yes, I want to be able to absorb the newness and the time with people and do it right instead of feeling rushed. I know as you get better and we master our crafts, that'll change. And then we look more towards profitability. We look more towards getting the bigger goal patients. I want your opinion on that too. What is a good amount to keep a balance and not burn yourself out once you get to that level?
I think you're not going to like the answer because it's going to be a TCM answer. When someone asks me, oh, how do you treat insomnia? And I go, it depends on your diagnosis and the cause and etc. So it depends. It depends of who you are. You're going to have to navigate this. So first of all, you're absolutely right. When you first start, you're going to have maybe a patient a day, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. Some days you'll have 4, some days you'll have none, right? That's the beginning. So we have to be prepared for that. However, because you are starting and you're right, you're slower in needling your diagnosis, you're learning with your patients, which is the best learning. Each patient, you tell them that it's a 60-minute appointment. Let's say you can decide what you want to do, but we're going to pick 60. But when they come, because you're not that busy, when I first started, I would spend an hour and a half with each patient. So first of all, patients felt like they were really taken care of because I went above and beyond what they were expecting. So if you have the time, book your time between 75 minutes to an hour and a half. And if you finish earlier, they can go and then you can work on your treatment plan for next time. You can do your research, which is fantastic in that extra time you have. So you're not going to do this for repeat patients. You're still slower, but you won't need an hour and a half. Give yourself an hour and finish maybe 50, 55 minutes for a follow-up. Decide what you want to do. Start with longer time, like 90 minutes per patient. That allows you to grow, to not be rushed, and to do a great job with each patient. Then eventually go down to 75 minutes, then to an hour. And then you'll feel really comfortable. And then if you want to have 2 rooms and go back and forth, some people can do this, some people can't. So you're going to have to do what's best for you, right? I wouldn't work more than 8 hours in a day. You don't want to do that because by the end of the day, you'll be so exhausted. You won't be able to give the best to your patient anyway. Depending where you're going to practice, I think it's important to give people the ability to come and see you later on during the day because a lot of people work 9 to 5, right? So what I did when I first started is I would go from like 12 to 8, 2 days a week. So it gives people time after 5. And then a day a week where I would do like 9 to 4, make it more for the morning moms. Give options in your schedule if you can. That's really good. When I first started, I also worked on Saturdays because I was ready to take patients all the time, right? I need to grow my practice. Eventually I stopped and then just ended up working 4 days a week. You're going to have to experiment what works best for you. Let's say you see 6 to 7 patients in a day and you work 4 days a week. That gives you about 28 patients a week, right? If you work a little bit more, then maybe you get to at least 30 patients a week. You want to get there. As you get stronger and faster and more comfortable, then you can increase that by either adding more hours, adding an extra room, or adding another day. That's up to you. But you're going to have to experiment because what works for me doesn't work for everybody else. I was very comfortable having 2 rooms and go back and forth every half hour unless I had a new patient. If I had a new patient, I wouldn't book someone every half hour. But for follow-up, I did this for many years. But I didn't do that right away. I did it within 2 years of practicing. When I first started, I had 0 patient. The first week I had 0 patient. The second week I had 0 patient. The third week I had 3 people and they were all friends of my husband. The first patient that I had called me and said, I'd like to make an appointment. I was so shocked that I said, really? When you work in a practice with a bunch of other practitioners, it's much easier to grow because you can go to the other practitioners and say, hey, I'll give you a free treatment so you could see how I work. And if you like the way I work, then refer people to me and then we work together. Because it's much easier to grow your practice because the massage therapist will refer, the chiropractor will refer, right? And vice versa. It goes back and forth. So it's much easier to grow a practice than if you go on your own, you open your little cute little place. That's how I started. And it's harder. So I had to be inventive and creative. I went and met a lot of other practitioners, chiropractors, massage therapists. I literally walked in cold and I can't refer because I'm new. I have no patience. So what can I bring this person so they can refer patients to me? What can I do for them? Because they don't care about me, right? I need to do something for them. So I would say, I just moved here. I don't know a lot of people, but I'm looking for people that eventually I will refer to. In the meantime, I can give free treatment for every single patient you refer to me. Please come and get your first treatment on me. And if you like what I do, refer patients to me. And it was no, not interested. Don't like acupuncture. Eventually, this RMT goes, oh, I love acupuncture. I've been trying to get pregnant and everybody says it's great for fertility. I'm like, I love this. I gave her a treatment. And literally for the next 6 months, she referred so many patients to me. She got 6 months of free acupuncture and helped me build my whole practice.
Just a question from when you went to school. What do you wish you would have known or had or been told while you were in school just to help you retain everything that you've learned, or what processes were really effective for you?
With Chinese medicine, we have two obstacles. First is the fact that we're learning something new that's very different, and that's fine. That's any school and anything you learn, that's going to be an obstacle because it's all new and challenging. The second one is we are learning medicine that's from another culture and another language. A teacher would teach and say, the triple burner is, and somebody else will say the Sanjiao and the triple energizer. And I'm like, why is there like 5 names for the same thing? This really confused me, right? And then some people would say evil heat, and somebody else will say external pathogen heat. And I'm like, is this the same thing as evil heat? I don't know. Some people would say yin deficiency, and another teacher would say yin shu, XU. It was so hard because to me, that was very confusing. Like, stick to a language and then let's continue that way. Let's leave it that way, right? That to me, that was really hard, especially because English wasn't my language. And now you're giving me 10 options. In order to learn, stick to when the teacher calls it the governing vessel and you like to call it the do vessel, call it the do vessel. Whatever works best for you, you know that it's called something else. But when you study, make sure you stick to one thing. When you are learning all the points, for example, let's say 10 of them have all the same function. Take a long point and they all do the same thing. So this is why it's important to differentiate. Long 1, yes, it's for lung disorders in the Western sense. That's how you differentiate. Asthma, bronchitis, wheezing. Long 7, on the other hand, is a great point for all those things, but it's not the best point. It's better to strengthen the immune system and specifically the commander point of the neck and head. So anything happening on the neck or head, long 7 is your best point. Always think when a point has a special function, like it's a commander point, it's a chi clef, it's a yuan source point, it's a shu transporting point, it's a back shu point, a front mu point. You want to remember that function because that makes them special. So that gives you a little bit of an edge, right? If a point is a back shu point of the lung, let's say bladder 13, that is the best point in the back for the lung. Yes, there's other points that do the lung in the back, but this is the point. So that helps you a lot that way. If you look at large intestine 4, even people that don't do TCM in general, they will say, this point's really good for headache, right? They'll show you and they tell you this. Well, that's the thing to remember about LI4. It is the commander point of the face. So anything happening on the face, including headache, because it relieves pain, you want to use LI4, right? Because it's a commander, right? So it's the same with bladder 40. It's a commander point of the lower back. Yes, bladder 40 is great to clear heat in the blood and do other things for urination, but it is the commander point of the lower back. So you focus on that. Don't focus on 10 indication. Focus on the powerful one. Because first, that's how you're going to use it in clinical practice. And second, this is how you're going to form your treatment and how you are going to exams that are going to ask you, oh, this person has lower back pain. bladder 40 has to be in there. If it's not in there, the exam's not right. You just have to, you know what I mean? So,
Yes.
so for studying, I think that's really important. Select what's the best part of that point. If you know that stomach 37 is the lower Horsey point of large intestine, you know it's the best point to use for excess in the large intestine. That's it. You don't need to know all the other things it does, right? If gallbladder 34 is the influential point of all the sinews, ligament, tendons, and joints, you have to use this when there's ligament, tendon, sinews, joints issue, because it's the influential. It influences your treatment, right? So focus on the special point first, because those are going to be your most used point in clinical practice anyway. And it'll be easier to know those really well. And then you can go and pick the less obvious or the more obscure one eventually, right?
The supporting points.
Yes, the supporting cast, right? It's like the best actor, best actress, and the supporting cast. That's how you do a treatment. You pick your king and queen point, and then you pick your general and your assistant and the people that are going to help everything else, right? For studying, I think that's something that I wasn't told. What I did a lot is, and I think that's just normal, you're my generation, so you know this, but everybody types everything. I think it's really important to write things down, because the memory and the handwriting, you retain the information better. So what I did in school is I took all my notes down, which takes much more time. I get it. Not everybody has all the time. I understand that. But I wrote notes down when I took notes in school. And then I went home and I retyped them and made them in nice, pretty, so I could study with. Now I've done this twice, right? Let's say we did the 5-element theory. I've written it down and now I'm typing it. So now twice I've listened to this, right? Or I've looked at this. And then when I study, I've already done it twice. This is my third time, right? So that helps a lot. Another thing that I did, which at the time I had cassettes, but I would record
you
myself,
were not.
right? Record myself in cassettes. Now you could just record yourself on your phone, literally recording myself doing the lecture. Like, you know how you listen to my videos, but I would just read and go, okay, the 5-element theory, say all the 5-element, there's the generating sequence and it does X, Y, Z, and I would record myself. And then I would put in my ear when I go walk my dog, when I go exercise, when I commute, when I'm doing nothing, cleaning my house, put it in my ears and listen to myself. And they will get it.
Did you know I created 3 books to support your TCM journey? Often I'm asked, Clara, what's the difference between all 3? Well, they all have fun, colorful visual to make them much more easy to grasp and understand each concept. They're definitely not your TCM typical boring dry books. They are available in hard copy and they ship all over the world. But if you'd rather the digital version, they all come with video links to complement them and can be downloaded on any device. My first book, AcuPoint Made Easy, this is the orange one, covers all acupuncture points function, location, depth and angle of insertion, including special points categories, extra point cupping moxa, and all my clinical pearls. My second book, Chinese Medicine Made Easy, which is my green book, covers all TCM foundation, diagnosis, yes, including tongue and pulse, with lots of colorful visual to help you grasp specifically observation, right? Case studies, and my digital fillable intake form for you to use with your patients. My third book, Chinese Medicine Treatments Made Easy, that's my purple book, covers all TCM treatments for 160 syndromes, including acupuncture points, herbal formulas, diet, ear acupuncture, and many other TCM tools. So you can have that book at your fingertips every day in clinic. It is a must for all practitioners. I provide sample for each of my books that you can download to see if this is really truly what you were looking for, because I want you to be happy with what you're investing in when you invest in any of my products. You can check out the links to all my books in the show notes below, or go to my website, AcuProAcademy.com, and on the menu tab, click the shop tab and get your copy today.
That's awesome. I'm totally going to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And you answered another question, because I was going to ask you exactly, when you're picking points, do you focus on the special ones first?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you do. I love that. Okay. Thank you so much. I know I'm not there yet, and I'm sure I'll get taught, but I know everybody differs. We go to a clinic observation and every practitioner does something different, but I wanted your opinion on some of the other offerings. So acupuncture versus gua sha versus moxa. What determines when you'll use each of those modalities in your care plan for
In your
somebody?
care, that's a great question, actually. And again, you as a person will have things that you gravitate towards because you
Right.
really like them. For example, I love to receive cupping, so I love to give cupping because I know how good it feels, right? So obviously, if I'm trying to turn a breech baby and we need moxa in order to do that, of course I'm going to use moxa, right? It's important to use it for specific purposes. But having said that, you are going to gravitate. And we can use all those tools depending on what we'd like to do. So we start with acupuncture, but we have to adapt. So let's say I have a 10-year-old little boy that's coming because he's got asthma or he's got anxiety. So he might be, yeah, I'm okay with needles. So you could put a few needles. That's great. Or you might say, I'm really, really scared. I don't want needles. Okay, we need to adapt. Let's do ear seeds. And then you can tell them, press the ear seeds. It'll help you when this is happening. So he can press the ear seeds. So we'll do that instead, right? So we have to adapt. For kids, doing massage, doing trina, doing cupping may be a better option, right? Sometimes someone's sitting there and you're like, okay, I'm going to do all those points, but this person's really, really young, deficient. So I should do some moxa, or I should show them how we're going to do to warm them up, right? And you can add that, but because maybe it's the first day and they've never had acupuncture before, you don't want to overwhelm them. Maybe you just do a few points, see how they felt. And when they come back the next time, you're like, today, we're going to add whatever you felt was good the first time. We'll add cupping or moxa or whatever, electroacupuncture. See how you react to this. And the person might say, oh my God, I love that one. Can we do that next time? Or they'll say, yeah, I don't know. I think I like the first time better, right? You're going to have to really listen to your patients because they know what feels right. And sometimes you have to decide what's best for them. Obviously, if they really need something, you might say, well, this is really important. But if not, then you're going to have to play with those tools and decide, I think this person really requires this, right? And I've had patients asking for things. So like, oh, my friend went to her acupuncturist and they did like cupping and for this and this. And I'm like, I treat you for fertility, but if you want one day, we can address all the shoulder tension and do more upper body and do cupping. Do you want me to add this up? Yeah, I'd like to try it. Okay, so we'll do that. Because when she comes for fertility, cupping was not in my thinking, right? So that's how, but so sometimes patients will ask. And sometimes it's also you trying different things because you've tried something for a patient for, let's say, 3 weeks and they're getting better, but it's really slow. And you're like, what am I missing? Today, I'm going to try to add whatever you want to try, gua sha, and see if that makes a difference. And they come back, they're like, oh my God, I feel so much better after. Wow. You're like, okay, this person, I need to add up some gua sha. Depend on how you feel, how the patient is, and follow your gut on that. And what you like the best. But start with basic acupuncture and then look at your toolbox, look at all the stuff that you have available and go, I think this person, they like to be in control. So give them a bit of control would be great. Let's put some ear seeds so they can go home and press and they feel like they're in control, right? Compared to someone that just go, and they don't want more things and they don't want to have more homework. We'll do maybe some cupping because then when they go home, they don't have to think about more things to do, right?
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you. And then when it comes to TCM, I know not everyone, but a lot of patients will come in because they want to avoid Western medicine. What do you say to them if you believe they should also seek biomedicine, but that's not an avenue they want to either revisit or go down at all just because they want all natural, they want all alternative? How do you approach that with a patient?
So with most patients, I explain how acupuncture works, right? If you're not doing herbs, if you're just doing and just is a word. If you're doing acupuncture as your sole or main tool with all the other umbrella tools like gua sha and cupping and all that. If you have a patient that come in and they're like, oh, I'm just sick of the Western medicine or medical system. I came here because I want to do something naturally. And I've had patients saying that for, let's say, fertility, right? So I'm like, why don't we give it a try naturally and see what we can do with it? And then let's say 6 months later, they get pregnant, they're very happy. However, sometimes 9 months later, they're still not pregnant. Now, they're not dying. There's not a horrible thing that's going to happen. They're just not getting pregnant. So, of course, they're upset. This is a time where you're like, well, you're 26 years old. We can continue that way because you still have time. But let's say they're 39 years old, right? Do you want to go and check out other avenues because you are getting older and your eggs are getting a little bit older and that's going to be tougher? Maybe go see if we can add something. For example, when it comes to fertility, it's non-invasive for the fact that you're not taking drugs, but you could do intrauterine insemination, where they literally take the sperm and inject it. I call it the turkey baster, but they inject it so the sperm is right there and it just has to enter the egg, right? So that's something that definitely they do that doesn't have side effects because they're just literally putting the guys in front of the door kind of thing. So you could start with this, see how you feel about this. And yes, the next step would be to take drugs, right? To go through a little bit more invasive for the fact there's the medication. It's kind of giving people option and say, let's start baby steps. Now, if it was someone that came in and their disorder is quite advanced and it's quite intricate and for sure, acupuncture is not going to cure it, but it might help them with their symptoms. It will manage it. Kind of like your mom with cancer. Acupuncture wasn't going to cure the cancer, but it makes her more comfortable, right? So this is something you can explain to patients and say, I understand the medical system is not your friend right now and you're not really connecting. However, think of acupuncture as this is how acupuncture works. It doesn't treat and it does not cure anything. And that's the truth. Acupuncture does not treat or cure anything. And people kind of look at you going, well, why am I here? So I explain when I insert needles in somebody's body, I trigger minute nerves that send signal to the brain for your body to do a function. So the function could be to decrease inflammation, to put you in a rest and digest or parasympathetic state so your body can recover. Think of this as your self-regulating, self-healing system. Acupuncture just helps you get there because there are so many causes like stress and trauma and emotional trauma that puts your body completely out of whack and out of balance. So acupuncture helps you restore your body ability to heal itself, right? So that's what it does. So when we're outside hiking like I do, and then I cut my arm, technically when I get home, it's cut. Now I have a scab, etc. But 3 days later, I look at my arm, it's gone. I didn't have to do anything because the gash wasn't deep. There was nothing major, but my body did it by itself. It healed that gash. I didn't have to do anything. That's exactly the ability to self-heal. The body can do it. But sometimes because of the stress and the amount of outside factors, it cannot do it, right? We don't sleep enough. We don't have a great lifestyle. There's a lot of factors that can influence our self-ability to heal. So acupuncture helps you get there. And that's what it does. So if you're coming in and you're having a disorder, let's say multiple sclerosis, acupuncture is not going to cure it, right? I understand that it's tough. It's a difficult disease. What acupuncture can do is help manage it. Maybe you're in a lot of pain, then we'll help you with the pain, right? Or maybe you're having very weak and you're really depleted and you're always tired. So let's see if we can work on that with diet and acupuncture and rest and put you in a parasympathetic state so your body can kind of calm down and not be on the fight or flight and so stress about everything you have to deal with. That's what acupuncture does. However, having another option from Western medical perspective can also make you more comfortable. It's your decision, obviously, but this is where acupuncture limitation comes in. So that way people have the education. They understand what we can do to support them in their journey and what we cannot do and what limits we have. Because every medicine has limit. TCM is fantastic for preventative. It's fantastic to help people de-stress so their body can heal. But it's not going to cure everything. It's not a cure.
Oh, that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Before school, obviously, my thinking was, oh my gosh, TCM can cure everything. But I have since learned that, like you said, it does have its limitations. When you grew your practice, when you were on your own, did you ever bring on any associates at any point when you got bigger? If you did, but some words of wisdom in when you know when that point is, and maybe some pointers if you do bring on somebody, things to be aware of for your business that maybe we wouldn't think of.
So I did bring on more acupuncturists in my clinic and people I could share patients with. However, I literally love to treat my patients, and my patients love to be treated by me because they connect with who I am. And when we are in this field, all of us have pretty much the same education. We all had to do the same thing. So in the end, we all know the same stuff. However, people are not going to see you because you know TCM better than somebody else. They're going to come and see you because they connect with you, and they're going to refer because they connect with you. It's like they love who you are as a person, right? I never brought on an associate where I just passed on my patient, but I brought more practitioners to work alongside me that were complementary to what I did. So for example, in my clinic, like I said, women's health and mental health are my favorite thing. Women's health is my big thing. I want someone that does something that I don't do. And so this person was really good with pain, for example. And that was her thing. She loved to treat anything that was acute or chronic pain. So it's fantastic to have in the clinic because I may have someone that comes for fertility for me and they really want me to focus on that, yet they've had years of post-car accident. I can treat and work on it, but that other practitioner can do a much better job than me because they can focus on that. We also had another acupuncturist that does cosmetic acupuncture. Same thing. I don't do cosmetic acupuncture. It's fantastic because it's an alternative to Botox and to injection, and it's safe, it's natural, it's effective. And so she was so busy with that. So many of my patients came to see me and then see her for cosmetic acupuncture, right? So now you're going double duty kind of thing.
Did you ever bring on anybody who just came out of school, or did you prefer people who were more experienced and, like you said, did have that specialty you didn't?
I actually like people that come out of school better because they are eager to do well. Yes. Yeah. They are also easier to help train and teach, to help them grow and become who they are at their best capability, compared to someone that comes in, has already their own idea. And maybe when they work alongside me, we don't have the same ethics at all. And that's just not going to work. Because when someone comes out of school, you can teach them different way and say, try this, try that, see where you're going. And they're going to go and understand. It's not to say, oh, I'm so good. But I build a very strong, successful practice, like very strong in my area, very successful. So I know what works because I've done the things that didn't work. Another advice that I gave one of the practitioners that came in, and I love her because she asked right away. Clara, one of the things I have a hard time with is telling patients, you need to book the next few weeks. I feel like a sleazy car salesman, right?
Yes.
So I just can't tell them, you need to book for the next few weeks. I'm like, especially if they're doing something like fertility, right? One session is not going to work. You have a 4-week cycle. Let's say your cycle is irregular. We need to regulate the cycle first. It's not going to happen in one day. So you need to come regularly. But she's like, oh, it feels so yucky. So I said to her, let's reframe how you think. Do you feel like if she comes once, she's going to get pregnant or she's going to be done with what she needs to be done, whatever she came to see you for? One session is not enough, right? And she goes, of course. I'm like, well, the patient that came in, she didn't go to school. She has no information. So your job is to be the educator. She can make the decision if she wants to come and book the next few weeks for whatever she's trying to do. What you have to do is say, okay, so according to what we did today, the root cause is, let's say, stress. So let's say this person has had insomnia for 20 years. So the root cause is obviously lots of stress, and we need to bring the stress down. You've had this for so long. One session is not going to be enough. We're going to need a few sessions. And acupuncture is like cumulative. The more you do it, kind of like brushing your teeth, the more the preventative option comes in. So let's do a few weeks, maybe 2 to 3 weeks on a weekly basis, and see how you sleep better. Even if you sleep better for 20% of the time or for 2 days after acupuncture, we're on the right track. And as we go, we might separate the session into every 2 weeks, maybe, and every 3 weeks. And as you get better, we're going to get to a point where it's now we could just do it preventatively when maybe there's a lot of stress in your life. But we need to make sure that we are addressing the issue. So once you give the information to the patient, you could say, so I'll see you next week. And if they're like, you know what, I can't afford it, I'm not coming, that's their decision. But at least they have the information, right? So you're not selling, you're helping your patient understand that this is how you can help them. One session, you can't help them. And now they wasted that hour and that money for nothing because they need to be consistent and they need to come in order to heal. Patients will come for fertility. They'll say, how do I know this is working? That's a fair question because you're not pregnant yet, right? So I'll say, well, give me 2 to 3 sessions. If there is no change in your life health-wise, then we're not on the right track. So within 2 to 3 sessions, her energy might be better. She's sleeping better. Suddenly the PMS are not as strong. I felt better during the week before my period. Wow. Those are the little steps that we know we are regulating, put you in a state of self-healing, a state of health, which allows you for better option when it comes to conception, because you want to be the healthiest possible when you make your baby, so your baby grows healthily, right? You give your baby the best chance. So that's how you address this salesy thing. You educate your patients in what they need to know, what's best for them, and then they make the informed decision.
Oh,
sense?
Fantastic. So setting that expectation up front, just so there's no guessing games, no surprises down the road for anybody. You are just a gold mine.
Michelle, are you on social media?
I am.
Okay.
I'm not very active on there, but I have a Facebook page.
Don't put too much pressure on yourself. But if I were you, because you have 4 years, right? Every time you learn something that you think is just so cool, share it there. You know, like even if it's just today, I learned the best acupuncture point for stopping cough. Wow, this is amazing. I could needle this and cough stops. Of course, we're learning that we have to look for the root cause and everything, but that's so cool. And then you can put a picture of your arm and then you point to it or something. And then you just put that picture.
Great idea.
You educate the world and people get to be excited with you. And so when you're done, people want to come and see you. You know what I mean? So share stuff because why not?
Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I truly hope you benefited from this episode, and I would love for you to share it with a friend that may benefit from it as well. Follow the show, leave a review, and if you want more, go to my website, AcuProAcademy.com. I have tons of resources there with treatment protocols, case studies, free courses, and so much more. And connect with me on all social media at AcuPro Academy. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X, Pinterest, and LinkedIn and TikTok. And no matter what, keep rocking it using TCM. Please listen to the disclaimer because the AcuPro Show Podcast and material shared through AcuPro Academy, which is a subdivision of Natural Health Sense Incorporated, are designed solely for educational and entertainment purposes. The utilization of information from this podcast or any associated material is at the user's discretion and risk. This content is not meant to replace the guidance of an acupuncturist, Chinese medicine doctor, medical doctor, physician, or any qualified professional, nor is it a substitute for proper diagnosis or treatment. Users are strongly advised not to ignore or postpone seeking medical advice for any existing medical condition with their healthcare professional regarding any health concerns.